Welcome back. If it's Tuesday, it's Confessions of a Special Needs Mom. I'm Gina Waterman, and I'm your host, and you are listening to, as I said, Confessions of a Special Needs Mom, and we are on Fishbowl Radio Network, live every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Central. I have with me today a special guest, Shary Gentry, with me, and welcome to the studio.
Thanks.
We're so happy that you're coming on, and it's been a while. Gosh, how many months ago did I ask you about doing this? This has been a while coming on.
At least 6, I think.
Right.
At least 4.
Yeah. So I'm just really honored you're coming here and sharing your story today because, Shary and I are friends, but I've watched her blossom into doing the books and also sharing on being Mark's mom, your socials. So it's exciting to finally have you in the studio and share with our listeners because, as you know, we are being listened to from all corners. So not just in Texas, United States, but also abroad. So welcome back to my listeners. We have primarily those in the U.S., the U.K., Canada, and a spattering here in Western and Central Europe. So that's kind of exciting.
That's great.
If you haven't joined us before, I'm just going to tell you about our channel a little bit and our program. I am a certified grief recovery specialist, and I have over 40 years experience in acute grief and loss. And I was brought to the grief recovery method, which is an evidence-based program that helps people essentially heal from emotional pain. Pain due to losses like divorce, death, career loss, health loss, pet loss. There's over 40 losses that the Institute has actually identified in their work. So it's been quite a ride for me. What brought me to this work was the parallel losses that I had at the same time of my divorce or my ex-husband leaving the house at the same time, just shortly after I had my dad die. That's been 11 years ago now. When he died. So it was a lot to handle. And I've shared quite a bit about my story on episodes 1 through 3. So if you haven't been with us and you'd like to take a look at that, or you're just curious, I highly encourage it because I talk about all the themes and all of the accumulated grief that I was experiencing that brought me to this show. And I've had this idea for a long time because as a special needs parent, once I had my son many years later and had the diagnosis of autism, as well as all the things, because he was born a 31-weeker, so we had several challenges early on. I was carrying around so much, I just felt like I was drowning. I literally felt that way. I didn't know how to move forward. I didn't know what to do. I was seeing therapists. I was seeing counselors for many years. But the only thing that really gave me some peace and direction and feeling like I could handle life again was the grief recovery method. So that's why I do what I do for my clients and now with special needs parents. As special needs parents, we come to the table with accumulated grief, but we also It's the themes again of the unmet hopes, dreams, and expectations of where we thought we were going with our kids or how they were going to develop and where they're at now as adults for Shary and I and for many of you listening. So my listeners range in disabilities and so on, but it doesn't matter whether it's autism, Down syndrome, as I've said before, or cerebral palsy or anything else. We are experiencing life together, and we don't necessarily may not know how to name this or what this experience is, but unless you do something about it, it's painful and it continues to affect your children and your family and your relationships. Full stop.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's what I'm here discussing. And I always start my show off with lighting a candle and giving ourselves a chance to just center, take a deep breath, and remember, if you are experiencing a loss today, remembering those that you have lost, maybe someone's died this year or recently, and I'm very sorry about that. If you're experiencing estrangement from an ex, or you're going through a divorce, you might even have gone through Father's Day and this happens as well. Not everybody is joyous on Father's Day because we've lost our fathers or stepfather or father figure. But also, there are many people hurting in this community and all over who just spent the last weekend struggling with how to grieve over the loss of a living father in their life and the relationship that's severed or broken. So I just wanted to acknowledge that as we open our show. The other thing I wanted to mention, I have in the past, but today, the music choices that I've chosen today, they're not really my choice. Each show is a little bit different. I try to personalize it by asking my guests, what's your favorite song, or does your son or daughter have a song that you enjoy, and let's share it. So today are Shary's choices. And so I loved opening up with the Verve. I actually thought that was, for the longest time, the Oasis that sang that song.
Kind of that sound.
Yeah, they got the similar sound because I like that group. Anyway, and we have a couple of others coming up, and I won't ruin it by saying the names. Okay. So, all right, Shary. Welcome, as I said.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Yeah. So, in the early days, can you tell us how you managed all of Mark, your son, who has autism, all of his needs while still giving and guiding your daughter, Allie, during those early days? You want to start off by telling us a little bit about that?
It was not easy.
I can imagine.
We kind of learn as we go, and there's no manual for that. But what John and I, my husband and I, both realized as a couple and as a family is that if this was going to work for us, it could not be all about Mark. Of course, he had to have accommodations in whatever settings he was in. We needed to help him in all sorts of ways. We needed Allie to understand that he had special needs and that she needed to be a little more patient than the average older sister was with younger brother and all that. But Mark had to rise to challenges sometimes too. Allie went along to therapy sometimes with him. He went along to softball practices or softball games that we went to for her. Okay. The other thing we had to do was, honestly, sometimes, I hate to say this, it sounds bad to even say it, but it's a necessity, is sometimes John and I and our relationship or our couple time had to go on the back burner because we sometimes had babysitters or specialized therapists who were able to give us a few hours of the weekend so that we could focus on something other than Mark, but that went to Allie, not to us. And that was a very conscious choice. I don't in any way regret that or feel guilty about that. Yeah. But the time that we had, if it was a Saturday evening, if it was a Sunday afternoon, a Friday evening, really went to Allie's activities or reading a book with Allie or going to a movie with Allie. And that was important. Obviously, it's kind of like a time management thing, and I am not organized. But I had to sort of think in that way that we had to come up with whole family activities that worked. It took a while to work up Mark's stamina and skills to be able to do it, but we discovered that both kids love to go out to eat. Not a cheap hobby. They like to go out to eat. They both, especially Mark, loved Mexican restaurants. They both really enjoyed movies. They both like swimming at Hurricane Harbor, which is a big, water park associated with Six Flags. We found things that we could do as a whole family. And the last thing we did that I went back and forth, I told John I was going to mention this, and he looked at me kind of funny. John, sorry. Sometimes our house had a bit of a crazy vibe, and we did a lot of therapies like this RDI, relationship development intervention, where we had things like beanbag mountains, and there were a lot of social skills you would develop by making beanbag mountains and falling over or throwing the beanbags, and someone would throw it back. So while a lot of other people in our neighborhood had beautiful, pristine homes, we had corners full of beanbags and beanbag mountains. We had mini trampolines. Yes. We had loose pillows from couches that were never on the couch. They were on top of Mark. and
I can
Allie might be
identify with
falling
that.
on top of Mark. Her friends might be
Yeah.
falling on top of Mark.
Yeah.
She had a great friend, Chandler, and Chandler said, "Let's create an autism camp."
Okay.
And she would teach, Allie would teach the friends about autism, and they would pick up on the fact that Mark had special needs, and they would help. Her friends would sort of become Mark's friends. They would
Yes.
become protectors of Mark, and they would join in the mayhem that was Gentry family life.
Okay.
The Beanbag Mountains, the jumping onto. Sometimes I'm so embarrassed because John is such an organized manager at work type of person. Sometimes the kids would walk across the back of our couch like it was a balance beam. I
Oh,
mean, we
really?
had a
Wow.
nice house, but there were crazy
Yeah.
things. They would jump on beds. I was never allowed to jump on beds as a kid. They would take Mark's former toddler mattress and slide down the stairs. No
Oh,
one
wow.
was injured in our home. But we
Surprisingly,
we had
sounds
to
like.
think outside the box. We had to do a lot
Yeah.
of sensory activities. We had to do a lot of crazy things that maybe weren't normal in other houses. What's normal?
What's normal anymore, right?
Exactly.
And, okay, so back us up. I'm
Okay.
sorry. I apologize. I didn't set the stage for our listeners because I know you.
You didn't expect that crazy answer.
No, not that crazy answer. It's not a crazy answer. It's actually honest. And I think many of us did what we had to do in our homes. I can
Exactly.
identify with that. Maybe not
Yes.
walking across the back of the sofa because my son didn't have those skills yet. He might have been doing it. But
Yeah.
the age of your kids when that was happening. Can you remind us
Okay.
how old Mark was?
Well, Allie's the older sister. She's almost 4 years older. So at the time that was going on, I would say was from when Mark was maybe 3 to 8,
Okay.
and then Allie 4 years older at all those stages. But he was doing a lot of OT, occupational therapy. He was
Right.
doing speech therapy. He was doing the relationship development intervention, some naturalistic ABA. Oh, and like in the OT, they did a lot of obstacle courses
Yes.
to work on Mark's fine motor skills and sensory pressure and things like that. So like that's really what I meant. We had little mini obstacle courses set up inside and outside our house all the time. And this was
awesome.
work for Mark. This was progress and growth. But for the other kids at our house, it was this crazy fun that mainstream America doesn't do. I don't know if it should or not. Maybe it should.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So,
And
Okay.
Allie was always very tomboyish, very athletic, so she loved it.
yeah. So, it sounds like your house was probably the house to be hanging out at and had a lot of fun. And you hosted maybe a lot more kids because
It
of
was-
that? Or is
it
it
was,
just naturally because of Allie's friends coming over?
Well, some of it was Allie.
Okay.
Allie was the leader. She's an introvert, but she's social. And so sometimes she would be pushing mom, we need to have people over. And I ended up going with the flow because, again, practically speaking, it was easier sometimes to have everyone at our house than for me to have to be driving all around town.
Sure.
Like with Mark, if he was having a meltdown, or to get Allie and Mark in the car at the same time. And, did he have a shirt on? He liked to be naked around the house when he was little. So, not that was good when people were over. We did make
Yeah.
sure he had clothes on. But no, sometimes over time I thought it was easier to have it in our house. We could have
Yeah.
our energy and our vibe. And John and I really appreciated it when Allie was going off to college. She told us, Mom and Dad, I'm really thankful that my friends said, you have the coziest house
Oh,
of all
sweet.
the friends. They said
Yeah.
it's not always the biggest, it's not always the prettiest, it's not the best kept up, but it's cozy.
Yeah.
That it was warm and friendly, and even some of her girlfriends thought I was comfortable to talk to, and I thought, well, we've had to deal with hard topics, and Allie's had to deal with hard topics from the time she was young, and ours was sometimes the house that they would call me Aunt Shary. Her friends would call me
Aw.
Aunt Shary, and they would sometimes open up about things. Sometimes I'd be like, go tell your mom.
Right.
Don't ask me. But other times I appreciated that, and
Oh,
it did
wow.
become kind of a safe place, and no one batted an eye if Mark did something a little bit unusual.
That's great.
That they were
That's
looking
really
out for
good.
him and learning about him in a comfortable, natural way,
Right.
naturalistic way.
Right. And that's wonderful. I mean, I'm kind of floored by that in the sense that not everyone has that story with being their kids being accepted by. Well, let me think about that. And I'm just speaking from experience and the people that I'm close to that have more than one child. And if there is a gap 2 to 3 years. You said 4 years, so it's
Almost
a little bit
4,
different.
yeah.
But not everyone has that experience with their kids being accepted. So that's wonderful. It sounds like, again, and that's you and John, I would imagine. I mean, you mainly because you're the household manager, yes? So you are kind of guiding that
Yes.
vibe.
Well, I appreciate you for saying that. I think John and I both at different times in different ways took the lead and both did a good job. I also want to make sure I highlight that Allie was exceptional in that way. But I think that she was able to become exceptional because we did realize she needed to talk. This was not going to be a deep held family secret. Sure. And honestly, when Mark was 3 and Allie was 7 and he was diagnosed with autism, for a long time we didn't mention the A word. I tell this little story about the A word, and all of a sudden we realized Allie thought there was a different A word going on. Oh. She thought he was an alien. I'm embarrassed to say that, but she came home from school one day and said, Mom, I'm not kidding, this is true. 7-year-old, innocent 7-year-old, what planet is Mark from?
Wow. Okay.
And I said, are you kidding? Are you being mean? What planet is Mark from? You saw me pregnant. You saw my stomach sticking out. You saw him at the hospital. And she said, well, he doesn't talk. Oh. My friend's little sister talks, and she's 6 months younger than Mark. He makes sounds, the stimming sounds, the rocking. The moving his fingers, twisting his fingers up in funny ways, things I don't mean to make fun of if I imitate them. They were things he needed to do to regulate. Yeah. But you can go through your whole life. Some people never see those things. Right. She was like, he makes odd sounds. He doesn't talk. He's very unusual. And so I was like, well, there's a name for that. I said, it's called autism. And you're going to learn a lot more about that over the years. Okay. And she said, oh, well, it's not the A word I thought of. And then she mentioned the alien thing. And you know what she said immediately after that? Here, I'm like feeling, oh my gosh, this was such a hard moment. I'm going to remember this forever. And her response was, can I invite a friend over? Yeah. And I was like, well, sure. Aren't you embarrassed about any of this? And she's like, well, no, he's not an alien. He's a normal kid, okay? That's and great. She just took it like it came. And so I think, yes, I was open. Yes, I decided to say this is autism. This is stimming. He's different. This is okay. We need to look out for him. But she also had the intellect, the grit, the inquisitive personality that she wanted to be a leader. Right. That she wasn't afraid of this. And Allie is exceptional. She's a disability rights lawyer today.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, the fact that you've told me so much about her. I've met her. Obviously, I don't know her very well personally, but I feel like I know her better than she probably wants me to know. But it's just kind of incredible, the track. And I'm sure that's like a lot of other siblings. They are influenced by their sibling that has a disability to go into therapies, being a lawyer, et cetera, to support our disability community. So that's outstanding. And can I back up though real quick? Sure. I wanted to mention something or just comment on that. When you said she was exceptional, and this is what her next question was can I have some friends over, invite? She was also age 7, right? Yes. About age 7. So it's, I don't have other kids. I only have the one. However, I mean, it's not unexpected for her to react that way. Would it be really for any other child to be like, I just need that clarification. They may not say it that way, but they wanted to. She just had those questions for you about the alien, and you explained what it was, and then she just went on like, okay, he's my brother. So can you speak a little bit to that and how that's like at that point they're 7, now they're much older. I don't want to fast forward too much, but I'm just curious, has their relationship changed significantly in that way, or has it just always been, he's my brother, like that?
Mostly it has been that. Mostly it's been good. He's my brother. He has differences.
Right.
I'm the older sister. I'm going to protect him. I'm going to teach the world about him.
Right.
She has done things in the community, in the school, and all that. It's really affected her where she was, I can't think what they called it, like an aide in middle school where she worked in a special needs classroom.
Oh, nice.
I didn't even take Mark to Special Olympics. I was still growing into this diagnosis in more of a way than Allie was.
Okay.
But Allie was Volunteer of the Year at the Cobb House Special Olympics when she was 14. So she has always been very vocal as an advocate. She has talked about, back up to third grade, so not long after that story,
Yeah.
one of the teachers called me one day after school and said the teachers were all in tears today. They said, because of your daughter. I was like, oh my God, what did she do? What did she do? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, no, in a good way.
Uh-huh.
And they mentioned that there was another boy in the class who was on the spectrum, much, I hate high and low, but much higher functioning than
Right.
Mark, but in a typical classroom. And he had done something a little awkward. I don't want to get into what it was, but his clothes were askew and all that. And the teachers were really bothered that the kids were so mean to this one student who's very, very nice, or laughed. I mean, nothing cruel. I mean, laughing, that it is mean.
Yeah.
And so they didn't have that student in the classroom, but all the third grade teachers talked to all the third grade students about how this is not going to happen. This is a good kid. He is different. Mistakes are going to happen. You make mistakes too. I'm going to cry. And they said they had tears in their eyes because 8-year-old Allie raised her hand, and they said she was so shy she normally never even answered a math question or a grammar question.
Yeah.
And she said, well, so-and-so is like my brother. And that's just a normal part of our life, that these things happen. But why would you laugh at someone for that? You know, he's doing his best and all that. And she's always been that way. She's been vocal about there's a name for that. It's not bad behavior. It's not low intellect. It's not meanness. And she's just grown into that role as an advocate. But honestly, while John and I are proud of her, sometimes we almost hope she'd go a different path. We were like, you live this, because you know, this is like a second language to us.
Right.
Autism, disability. It's closer to a first language to Allie. And we had to sort of grow into the diagnosis. We're like, you know, you don't have to pick a career in a field like this. And she's like, no, I want to. And as you know, coming out of law school, there are a lot of parts of law that make a lot more money than disability rights law, and she keeps going back and back in salary, but this is where her heart is. This is where her passion is. And you know what she does on the weekends for fun? She's on the board of the Arc of Texas.
Oh, yes.
The Arc of DFW. She used to be on the board of the Arc of Texas when she was in Austin.
Wow.
Now, but this is what she lives and breathes. This is what she does for fun.
She has a passion for it.
Yes, this is where her heart is.
Well, that's wonderful. And like, what's even doubly wonderful is that she's in her 20s and she knows what she wants to do and has that passion already. Like, it took me, I don't know about you, but I didn't know what I wanted to do in my early 20s.
I'm still figuring out.
We are. Yeah, it's different chapters now and different stages, but when I didn't know exactly. I knew, okay, this is what these are my strengths. I knew that much, and I know this is what I can do. And then I kind of got meandered around a little and got hooked up with some technology people, and I thought, okay, well, this can make me some more money. So that's what kind of I got into what I was doing then, which was completely different.
Lest I make her seem too perfect, Allie, don't kill me. Can I tell one little story? What I said mostly, Allie, mostly 99.9% of the time you've been the perfect sister. But Allie was always a little tomboy. My parents used to call her a roughneck. I don't know if that was the right word. She's scrappy. She's feisty. She's tough. So being the older sister and having Mark do goofy things sometimes, she's going to tell him when to straighten out and things like that sometimes too. So there was this time when she was little, sometimes I'd be cooking or something and I'd be just like, Allie, I just have to have you watch Mark for a few minutes. You know, will you go up to your room or his room and you can do whatever and you got to watch him. But I said, But I had to lay down the law. Like, I don't want to come back and find him in a timeout. You're not a third parent.
Right,
You're the
right.
older sister, but I want you to keep an eye on him.
Okay.
And so I no sooner, she's like, Mom, I would never do that. So I no sooner leave the room, I start walking away. And I hear Allie, if you don't stop doing such and such, Mark, I'm going to put you in. And then I walk back up there, and she says, a half Nelson. And I was like, I don't want you to use any wrestling moves on Mark either. I was trying to think if it was headlock or half Nelson.
Yeah.
At that phase, she was into wrestling.
WWF wrestling.
Well, no, she had gone out for boys wrestling at school. She was
like the school wrestling.
She
not
actually,
like
for
watching
a
it on
short
TV.
time, went out for the boys wrestling because they didn't have a girls wrestling at school. She was the only girl who did it. Mm-hmm. And then one day she flipped a boy.
What?
She flipped a boy in the air, and I was like hiding in the corner, and John's like, she can't be doing that anymore. And like I don't know if we made the wrong move as parents, but we're like, I can't face that boy's parents.
Yeah.
So some of that energy and enthusiasm and feistiness or whatever sometimes trickled down to Mark. So there were times I had to say, hey, he's doing his best. Give him a break. I'm not going to say she was always a perfect angel, but in the big scheme, she was. They both kept life interesting in different ways.
Yeah. That sounds like it. That's so fun. That is fun. Okay, I'm going to look at her differently now. Next time I see her, I heard you flipped a boy back in the day.
She did. I was just stunned.
Her new husband better watch out, right?
Exactly.
She can defend herself. Maybe
She'll
we should
keep him
get
in
her.
line.
Maybe we should bring her to the martial arts studio, to the karate.
Well, she didn't continue it. Oh, after that, yeah, that's true.
She could probably.
That would be a more controlled way of learning.
Not that she has time, but I'm saying, I mean,
that's true.
We have all levels, and we have siblings in that class.
Okay.
And adults, so it's awesome.
Well,
I'm
that's
going to
a
be
great
inviting you
organization.
and John to our next karate tournament. So just be expecting it, and or belt promotion, because my son's moving up in rank. So
well, that's
it's
great.
very exciting when he does get that next level.
I'm kind of fascinated by the martial arts, but I've never had any exposure to them.
Yeah.
But I think it's cool. I think it's good discipline.
So it's been great discipline. It's been great for his confidence socially. And again, wherever you are in listening to this, if you're in North Texas, definitely check out Beyond Karate. It's now folded into Ibelong.art. That's their website. And that is a nonprofit that serves serves all individuals with disabilities, but they focus on creative arts. And martial arts is just one of those. We have culinary arts, theater arts, and so on.
That's amazing, honestly.
Yeah, but the martial arts, he started it back in 2017, 2018. I've just been astounded in the fact that he really likes it. He kept going with it, and again, socially, it's really increased. It's just added so much to his life, and I see that for the other kids as well. And they have all varying disabilities and different ages, but there you go. That's martial arts is what his main thing is. So. Okay, I was going to ask you this a little bit later, but I think I'll ask now. Okay. Do you remember when we met officially face to face? Because we were friends online, like so many of us listening, for a long time. And kind of, I think we have I could identify with you immediately because, well, a couple of things. We have a lot in common in terms of our past. We weren't there at the same time, but we were both expats in the UK for a period of time. You had your children while you were there. I didn't have children. I was working, and I waited till later. But I thought that was really cool when I met you, that we had that in common. Oil and gas business, that's where we worked in Houston. Your husband currently works in Houston still. And then, what was the other thing? Well, communications, English. You're an English major. I was communications.
Yes.
But then we didn't really meet in person until until much later, and it was I was facilitating in my home a support group. Right? Was that the first time? Yeah,
I think it is. I was thinking about that last night because I can't remember not knowing you in some sense, because the online groups in our community can get personal.
Yes.
But as far as actually meeting each other face to face, in the last 2 years, I'm pretty sure, and it was at your house. But honestly, part of the reason I went to your house for that was because I felt like I did already know you, because I was
Yeah.
after all those years, I had still not really broken out of my shell. This has been pretty recent for me to actually go do things and meet people.
Right.
I mean, I'm a shy extrovert. I'm an extrovert. I need to do things, but I don't.
Yeah.
And the fact that I knew you were the host,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew a lot about your background, and I knew you had the background in grief, so I thought if I cry, I'm not going to be embarrassed because you deal with
Never.
that in your
Yeah.
profession. And so because you had led it, and it ended up being a small group of women, we all naturally got very, very personal. And that really helped a lot for me with our friendship. And it really affected, Gina, I can't give you enough credit. I think that really affected
Really? What way?
how I saw myself as far as letting myself be vulnerable and open up. And on the one hand, I can say, well, hey, I've written a book, because I have written a book. But I close up a lot, and I had sort of stopped having friends. I had a lot of acquaintances. I had a lot of old friends. But I wasn't a good friend anymore. Sometimes I was in survival mode. Sometimes I felt boring. Sometimes I felt like I needed to hide under a rock. I was frumpy. Sometimes I felt whatever. Sometimes I felt like no one would understand these things, but you got us all, I don't even know if you knew it, you got us all talking and crying and laughing and sharing really hard things. It was kind of like what happens in Gina's house stays in Gina's house. I mean, some of those things I have not said to anyone else. And it was like my life didn't end. The world didn't end because I did that. If anything, I feel better. I remember talking to Allie that night. She's like, Mom, you chickened out. You didn't go to Gina's, did you? And I was like, yes, I stayed till the end. I was there 3 hours. She's like, you did not. And she was so proud of me.
That's
and
awesome.
I was proud of myself. So I think there was something special about you that got me out the door to do that. And I had seen over the years that you were not afraid to put yourself out there. You would try to arrange social things, and only a couple people would come because we all had our own baggage and we had our own issues, and we all felt like we deserved to be hiding under rocks, that we'd gained weight, and we just didn't have our lives together. But you kept pushing and trying, and I was like, that's the way people should be. That's the way friends should be. That modeled courage.
Okay.
And integrity. And I think, honestly, that you are a very special person. And I think I'm a better person by knowing you. I really do.
Thank you, Shary. Wow.
Yes. Yes.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, we don't
I was
always
just
see the
doing
world the same
what
way.
I do. I'm being honest. And so what this isn't about me. It's not all about me. But I did ask you that question because I did mention to her that I might ask her this question, guys that are listening, because I wanted to just give a glimpse of that. Those feelings and the things that you said, many of us are, I as well. And when I go to some of these support groups, I felt that same way. Like I am more introverted. I extrovert because I've had to, but I'm really a natural introvert. So it's what you see is not always what you think is happening. And also it's because of my work and what I do. Yes, I've had to kind of get out there a little bit more, but back to feeling like you don't have it all together and you don't want to be embarrassed about, and you don't want to really, I don't know if it's a safe space to talk about certain things, and we won't mention what we talked about there because, again, it was private.
Very, very personal.
It was very personal, private, and it was that particular group. We were there for a specific reason. And it came natural to me to facilitate that because of the grief recovery method, and I was hoping that, and I'm still hoping that more people will have the courage to do this because I feel it's so strongly that it's helpful. But we all need that safe space, and I can't say it enough. I mean, if you're listening, the community, the friendship, and not everybody has, as close a friendship as we do, for instance, but whoever it is for you, and I don't think it should be your partner. And I'll say that from experience of having a 25-year marriage that went south. I put a lot of, and I'm not just speaking for myself, I put a lot of weight into, you're my rock, you're my person, you're my all. I'm going to share it all with you. And maybe in the younger years that was okay, or that helped a bit, but and I'm not a marriage counselor. I've been to many, though, over the years. It's just, as you age and stage, and then when you have children in the mix, which didn't happen until probably at least 10 years in to our relationship, it just changes things completely. And I know I only have one, and then I had, like, again, accumulated grief and different things happening where I was like, oh my gosh, like, what am I doing? What is going on here? I just want a break to breathe before he comes rushing into this world with all these complications that I had to take care of, and my own health was already, like, from the car accident, bad. But I went on there a bit much. I'm going back to circle back to the safe spaces, and online is not the safe space, guys. And I have been guilty of oversharing myself in the past, but these Facebook groups are just that. They are moderated, some of them by very great people in our that we've come to know as friends of ours, and other moms that have adult children with disabilities. But it's not the place to share really personal stuff, because you just don't know whose hands it's going to be in and who sees this. You really need to go to a counselor, a trained therapist, someone who's hopefully trained in the grief recovery method, because again, this is the gold standard for grief and loss and working through those things. I feel extremely strong about that, and that's why at those meetings, probably that's what you picked up on. And I love that you said you felt, or that we cried, we laughed. The current Institute's president, who is the son of John James, the author of this book, who's now passed, he says, if we could live in a world where tears are just as common as laughter, imagine that. Imagine what that would feel like. And I'm all about that. You know, I used to say, if I made you cry, then I've done my job, but that's not really true. I mean, it's just part of it. You need to release that. You need to release it with a safe space, and we guide you through our program. It's action-oriented, but even with your friends, your close friends, and I know with your husband, with your partner, can you tell us, actually, let's take a quick break here because we've gone on a bit long, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit about your relationship with John, and you know how you have addressed some of those. You mentioned it early on, but I would like to delve in a little bit more about, as a couple, how you guys have faced some of these challenges. So we'll take a short break here.
Okay.
Here comes the sun, here comes the sun, and I say it's alright.
Thanks for coming back. You are listening to Confessions of a Special Needs Mom. I'm Gina Waterman, and this is my guest, Shary Gentry. We've been talking about being Mark's mom and all the things that Shary's been doing since we first met back at well, we met online, as I said, way earlier, but in the last couple of years, our friendship has developed, and we've shared quite a bit, both positive, negative, and everything in between, about life as moms, and with the autism lens and the grief that we experience. So I mentioned before the break, kind of the fact that I was leaning on my ex for way more than I probably should have at some stages, and used to joke that kind of I broke it. I broke him because of all the things that I was carrying around, the accumulated grief and the experiences that we went through, because you do. Even my father's point of view, the dad's point of view interviews that I've done, Jeff Bellany said, we've gone through a lot, as you do when you're with someone for decades. Can you tell us, in your experience, and again, like, everybody's different, but just briefly, you and John are actually also high school sweethearts, right? So there's another layer of, I think, awesomeness in that, and that's juicy to me, because whenever I meet somebody who's a high school sweetheart, they have just such a cool story. But you've known each other longer, is what I'm saying, and that connection. So can you tell us a little bit about how you have managed to lean on each other but still retain Shary, and how Shary's handling things? Can you speak to that just a little?
Yes. Well, first of all, John and I have been together many years. It'll be 35 years of marriage in August, on August 3rd. We were high school sweethearts. Our first date was his 17th birthday, and 2 days before mine. We dated the last 2 years of high school. We went off to different colleges. We got engaged 2 years into college, so we did have those years apart. We got married right after college. We've been married almost 35 years. But as far as retaining our own personalities, we're just very different. And I think we've always accepted that in each other. I mean, I think when we were in high school, the superficial things were similar. Not trying to brag, we were both good students. We had 3 classes together at a small school. We were both athletes. He did 2 sports, I did 1. But superficially, we looked similar, but we were very different. And I don't know if I should be embarrassed to say this. When we'd been dating 7 months, someone came up to me one day and said, went up to John one day and said, "Are you and Shary still dating?" Like, they thought we were just so different.
Okay.
I don't really think that we were as different as people thought, but we're different. I'm more extroverted. He's more introverted. He's a little more direct, the things he would say to people. It's funny, nowadays I think he's more diplomatic, but I think I was then.
You guys have switched over the years.
Yeah, but I think we've always been different. I mean, so in that sense, we've always just sort of accepted that in each other. But you're saying, how have we maintained our personalities and our different flavors?
Well, actually, maybe I didn't ask it correctly.
Yeah, I might be
ask
misinterpreting.
it just right. How, with all the challenges, let's go back. Let's turn the clock back to, and I don't want to focus exclusively on the diagnosis, but that everybody has their diagnosis story, right? We don't want to necessarily go there. But when you realized this, we need to go all in. Most people either go all in, or one partner goes in, the other one goes in denial and hides. This happens too. And again, everybody's different. But you guys seem to be very united when I met you, and I met your partner John at the Ibelong Gala. The first time meeting him, I felt like I knew him as well. But I'm saying, when after the diagnosis and several years in, up until now, when he's an adult and he's gone into a supported living community, you seem united and very connected. Can you speak to what it is that you guys have done, or is there something you've done? I guess I'm trying to get to that. Is there something you can give our listeners, a nugget that you do differently, or does it just come naturally to you, this united front? We're going to tackle this together, and we tag team together. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, thank you for the compliment. In some ways, I think it's a hard question to answer, because that honestly just feels so natural to me.
Okay.
That someone committed to a partner in a marriage would do that, that someone committed to their kids would do that. But I know that not everyone does, and not everyone is able to, depending on how finances fall into line, the severity of the disability of their child, their own emotional strength or whatever. But I do feel like John and I've talked about this recently with him, we just are on the same page on things. I mean, even if it's little trivial things, you're picking out plates for the kitchen or whatever, or you're picking out goals for when he retires or whatever. I don't know, we're on the big things that matter. We've always been kind of on the same page.
Okay.
And we've always just sort of been able to pare things down to what has to be done. And sometimes one of us is the stronger one, and sometimes the other is. But we're able to be, like, some days I'll be the one who's down, and I realize I'm complaining, and I'm like, it's Monday, and I've got to send another email to Mark's living environment because why do I, like, I'm the complainer, like, why do I have to be a manager of this? I'm almost 58 years old. He's 24 years old. When is this going to stop, this parenting? And John will be like, he's not afraid to sort of say, well, some of it does suck, but there are a lot of good things in your life too, aren't there? And it kind of snaps me back, though, that, you know, that he's like, well, gosh, you're right. I mean, this is responsible parenting and adulting. I have a lot of other things going well in my life that maybe other people are struggling more with. But I think we're able to be tough with each other. We're able to be supportive for the most part when the other one's down, but sort of tough if they need a little bit of perspective or humor or whatever.
Got it.
But I think in general, like, I remember when we got married at a church years ago, we had to do like this premarital counseling of what are your values on this, and this. And we were just kind of aligned. I mean, I think we were a good fit to begin with, but we were aligned on, if we have kids, you know, this is going to be a priority, but so is our marriage. And I don't know, I'm making that sound complex, is simpler than it is, because it isn't easy day to day, but it's easier if the commitment is there, that you know it's going to be hard.
Gotcha.
And we've had some hard things in our families. I didn't want to get too personal about challenge. Every family does. I mean, every family does, but where we've seen that maybe the path someone thought they were on in life wasn't the path that ended up happening. Maybe they turned out better and different because of that. But John and I just don't have a naive view that this is a fairy tale, that everything's going to be easy, that everything's going to be perfect, that it's going to be charmed all the time. And I think that really helps versus someone who's, I'm going to sound terrible making fun of, we were always in a way more supportive of Tanya Harding than Nancy Kerrigan. It sounds terrible, but with Nancy Kerrigan, the why me, why me, and all the tears. Obviously, what Tanya did was horrific, and Nancy was just trying to be a skater. But I guess at some point I started saying, well, why not me? Other people have disabilities. Other people's kids have disabilities. Other people go through struggles. If you go through life thinking, her life's easier, his life is easier, these things aren't supposed to happen to good people, you're not going to be a very happy person. You're not going to be a very strong person, resilient person.
Absolutely. And I agree with you, and that leads me into, well, that's perfectly aligned with the I'm going to take a minute here to regroup, because you've said a lot in there in that. Also, just back up, the Nancy Kerrigan,
I apologize,
Tanya Harding
Nancy
story.
Kerrigan, if you
no,
ever see a
I
podcast
don't know
of mine.
if all of our listeners
or old enough?
understand what that reference was. So that was in the 1980s, late 80s?
Maybe 93, 94,
Oh,
94.
93.
I guess it would have been an even year.
You guys can Google it, but as a skater, that it was during the Olympics, yes?
Yes, leading up to the Olympics.
Leading up to the Olympics. So that's what she was referring to. The why not me is huge. The why me and the why not me. It's also something that comes up for our again, intersection of disability, grief, and faith. And as I was listening to you talk, I was telling you before the show, I had pulled out my, I'm kind of weird this way. I hold on to my church programs. A week later, sometimes I'll write notes on them and I'll be looking at them later. And I had been looking at it yesterday and today, thinking about mentioning some of these themes that we've been talking about at church. But I don't want to sound preachy. All of that to say that I was just having a conversation with another disability leader on Saturday about this, because I was having a horrible, horrific day and weekend, and it turned into something just I can't even describe to you, other than I was I was crying like a rainstorm, and my eyes, I was completely I looked horrible. I was a mess. And he said, "You were a mess." I said, "Well, yeah." We started talking about the Why Me, the book by the rabbi called, the title of it is Why Bad Things Happen to Good People. And we got talking about that. And I said, I've been looking at that again, and like just the things that were happening. I was spiraling because I was thinking about the aging process, I'm not sure I'm prepared. I'm not sure when he's going to be, he being my son, when he's going to be prepared to live apart from us. If I know he will, but what does that look like? So that's one of the things I wanted to touch on with you as you were talking, because it just brought it all flooding back. And I actually think as we were preparing for this interview, I knew it was going to come up, but I spoke to a director of another living community in in DFW. I won't mention it here because we haven't talked about sharing that yet, but I think between her, you, and you're outstanding to talk about this with, because you're in the midst of it. Mark has been there
almost 4 years.
You can share at 29 acres for almost 4 years. And then I was talking to Deborah 2 weeks ago, Deborah Spencer from Dominique Cares, and we were talking about different things with Medicaid waiver lists. I think it was holding it all in, and it just I had lost sleep over it, really. So by Saturday, I let it all out. That to say that is why I got into this whole space of why me. And then I thought, well, and we were talking, me and this person, about it's in God's timing. It really is. And I believe this. I've said this before. Our kids, no matter what it is, whether it's potty training, I don't know if you agree with this or not, but the potty training, it was 3 breaks. I remember it vividly, with the ABA therapist on the phone texting Yvette and saying, okay, we're trying this again. We buckled down. We're in our house. And it didn't happen for 3 whole, spring break, winter break, and another break. Eventually, it was when Kenneth wanted to do this, and he wanted to eventually get rid of those dang pull-ups at night. It's almost like that. And I don't want to simplify it, but it was like, okay, there's this happening, and he's maturing, but it's not what I want it to be. I'm dying for it to be this way. Yes. And it was my grief, and it was my all those things. So the living situation was what was in my brain, and I just spiraled. So that leads me to the question. I've talked about a lot of different things there, but it is grief, it is loss, it is our faith of having deep faith that the right people are going to come around at the right time, Gina, when he needs it. That's when the time is, and I have nothing to do with that. That's not under my control. And the same with the listeners. It's not under our control. We think it is, but it really isn't. So back to Mark and you and your family. You guys have had opportunities. Obviously, 4 years he's been there. Can you share with our listeners just a little bit about? And then we're going to have to wrap up, and I'm going to mention your book, but a little bit about how you came to that point in time where I'm sure you wrestled with it. Can you tell us a little bit about what that was like? And did you have moments of completely spiraling where John was like, hey, Shary, he might have been the other side.
About Mark leaving our family home.
Your family and where you
out.
were going to go.
Okay. Well, let me give a quick little recap. Mark is 24. He's been living in a supported living community in Crossroads, Texas, called 29 Acres, for almost 4 years. It'll be 4 years in September. Mark grows and matures all the time. He's a gentle giant. He's a sweet guy. I hate to say never, but it is unlikely he will ever be fully independent. He has language delays. He has intellectual disability. He has impulse control, OCD, anxiety. He needs a lot of coaching as of right now, probably forever. He'll need 24/7 supervision. In spite of that, a couple months after he turned 20, he moved to a supported living community. He lives there during the week. He's home every weekend, birthdays, holidays, all of that. The reason that even came up, the idea that he would live there, is, again, talking about commitment, open conversations as a family, the reality we're not going to live forever. I mean, he is probably not going to catch up. We sure as heck are not going to live forever. We needed to have research. We needed to have a plan. We started investigating things. But as far as the timing, we had a little bit of that, people or things happen at the right time, but we had a little bit of you have to create the right time because there was never going to be a perfect time for Mark to move out. If we waited for Mark to be, quote, ready, like people say, ready for potty training, ready to have a conversation, ready to learn how to throw a ball, that might never come. If we used a traditional timetable and traditional guideposts, milestones, Mark will probably never get there. And in my mind, it was going to be 2 to 3 years later than it was. And Mark was doing the day program that 29 Acres used to have in Denton, and he was happy. He loved the activities. He loved the staff. He loved the friends. He was growing. He was smiling and laughing. But I was like, at least 2, at least maybe 3 years till I'm even going to think of him moving in. John was a little closer on that decision. That time we didn't 100% agree.
That's all right.
But what happened is an opportunity arose in a house for an opening.
Okay.
And I was like, if we don't take this spot now, it might be 5 years. It might be 10 years. It might be more till they open up the next phase.
Okay.
There might not be an opening, and I might be burned out, or I might end up with a disease, or who knows what will happen.
Right.
I didn't know what was going to happen, and I knew that he liked the organization. I knew he liked the guys that were going to move into the house.
Sure.
So we had to gamble a little bit. We had to say we need this long term and tell ourselves, hey, there is no perfect time, but maybe this is perfect in some ways, even though I would rather he be older. I would rather he be more mature. I'd rather he had more life skills, whatever. We had to sort of say this opportunity might be missed
Okay.
if we don't take it.
Sure.
And so we did. And what I would tell other people is it's gone amazingly well. Not perfect. Gina hears my long vents at lunch about how I need to be a more strategic communicator and I'm being too emotional and
You're
too
being
worried
too hard
with the
on yourself.
emails, that I'm hard on myself, but I'm also hard on them,
Right.
blah, blah, blah. But the reality is, like a mom said to me at a retreat or conference I went to, I started to talk about how my son moved out, and she started to assume that meant he was so high functioning. She's like, well, I'm not going to talk to you anymore because my son isn't going to be able to get there. And I was like, no, this is why the story is so amazing, because Mark isn't independent. He isn't really all that conversational. He isn't that self-controlled in some ways. He is not that, he's not grade level. He can't do a full job. He does a part-time. And yet, in the big scheme, he's thriving.
Right.
He has friends. He's trying new restaurants. He eats hamburgers. He never ate hamburgers before. He bowls now.
Yeah.
He does all these
awesome.
things. But
So,
my advice to others would be, if he can, so can your kids.
Right. Yeah.
You're going to survive.
Yep.
Your kids are going to survive.
Yep.
They're
It's
going to
a
thrive. And honestly, the last thing I would say, Gina, our lives are messy anyway. That's a big theme in my book. Life is messy.
110%.
It is still going to be messy, but just in different types of ways.
Yeah, and I love that. You're absolutely right. And
Yeah.
huge mess, and it continues. I mean, that's what life is. And both our pastor now and previous pastor like to say, you know, God doesn't give us an easy life. We have those challenges to, again, dig deeper in your faith, and also hopefully share it with others who are in your circle. And so community, that's why community is so important, guys. You need to. I highly encourage you, if you haven't yet and you just feel like, oh, no one understands me, you can't do this on your own. You can't do this road alone. We weren't designed to do this on our own, and especially with this extra layer and complexity of, it's got both, again, there's joys and pain to it. You can have both in our lives as disability moms.
Can I
and
insert something with
fathers.
that?
Yeah.
When you said we can't do it on our own, and
Yeah.
thank you for being a friend and
Yeah,
a supporter
absolutely.
of me, but I'm not trying to be too
No, let's
promotional. I
talk
didn't
about
want
it.
to talk about this. This book that I've written, All He Wants for Christmas, is an Easter basket. This grew naturally out of my Facebook posts, my journal writings, my thoughts. Sometimes I'd pull over on the side of the road and be like, I have to write for 10 minutes.
There
Sorry,
you go.
Mark.
There you go.
I wrote the book that I felt like I needed when my kids were little, and honestly, the book that I still need today. In some ways, the longer Mark has lived away from us, the harder it's been, because it's really solidified in my mind that this is real. That he's going to live away from me. And while that means I can get to doctor's appointments, I can eat better, I can sleep better, I can't control everything.
Right.
There's going to be staff turnover. There are going to be passionate staff and ones who are duds. There are going to be days his anxiety is high and days his anxiety is low. And there's a lot of little nuggets in here. John helped me come up with a phrase, I'm not overwhelmed, I'm kicking ass. I hope it's okay to say that. It's not
Yeah.
that bad a bad word.
Yeah. Yeah.
This shows me that I can say I'm not overwhelmed, I'm kicking ass. It shows me the stories when I had to choose to laugh. It told me that success doesn't have to be success the way everyone else in the world defines success. Success to me is when life has just beaten you down and you get back up again and you look to see what lessons you could have learned from it. Success is recognizing the good in people. I may have been a more thin, successful, whatever person before, but I'm a better person now. I'm a more compassionate person. I'm a stronger person. I'm a more resilient person. I might not have looked at a person like Mark and seen his full value. Gina and I were talking about this the other day, not only how we define success. Mark is a good person. He's a gentle giant. He's 6'3", almost 300 pounds. When John mentioned that his father had passed away, Mark doesn't know how to talk about death or grief. We weren't even sure it was the right thing for him to go to the funeral, but he leaned in and gave his dad a hug. When he was a few years back in high school and he was with one of his former therapists and her little daughter had had a bone come out of its socket or something, she was like, Mark, we have to go to the hospital. She didn't know how Mark would do at the hospital. There was a lot of stuff going on.
Sure.
She burst into tears, and Mark, who's never had a full, long conversation, held her hand and said, Jenny, it's going to be okay. You're going to be okay. How many people do we know in life that don't have that empathy, that don't have that emotional intelligence, that don't do the right thing? I don't know if I would have seen that in people. I don't know if I would have seen that in myself, that I would have valued the right things. I'm a better person. Mark continues to grow. He's got a sister who's wonderful.
It's beautiful.
And as far as religion, Gina and I, we talk about everything. We disagree sometimes. We talk about religion. We talk about Michael Jackson. We talk about all sorts of things. I was raised.
The Beatles, and I brought this.
Oh yes, go the Beatles.
Well, no, the
Yeah.
Beatles, because this is one of my little props here. My girlfriend got me this. It's got the names of the songs, so I wanted you to pick out one before you leave today.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Randomly, because we talked about how Mark loves the Beatles songs, and there's a story behind that. But which one did you pick up?
Well, I don't know
That
that.
first one. That first one is
Wait,
the
but
one
I
you're
don't-
supposed to.
I
read it
like
out
this one
loud.
better.
Oh no, this is the first one you touched.
Okay,
But go ahead.
But I don't know that
Go ahead.
song.
No, which one did you pick? Which one did you
The
like better?
very first one, I like. I Get By with a Little Help from My Friends.
There you go.
Yes, I think that one fits
Okay.
our themes.
That's a good one to wrap up with. I love it. Okay, we've gone all over the place, but it's 3:16.
Well, this is cool.
It's John 3:16. We're ending the show at 3:16. or almost. Sorry, that number means something to me. And I just want to wrap up with saying thank you for coming. If you want to get in touch with Shary, if you want to get in touch with me, Shary, she's got her books. We've talked about the most recent one, All He Wants for Christmas is an Easter Basket, but you also have the other one that was inspired by, yeah, you can hold it up.
Yeah.
And
So
Angela's also got the screenshots after the show. More Than Words is inspired by his time writing with at Main Gate, or no, sorry,
No,
the other
Spirit
one.
Horse.
Spirit Horse.
It's inspired by Mark's days at therapeutic horseback riding at Spirit
Yeah.
Horse, but it's really like a little boy who's a little different, coming to trust in himself and have fun. And this is a memoir, a mother's memoir. All He Wants for Christmas is an Easter Basket, which is a metaphor for Mark's life and differences, but there's a literal story there that all he wants for Christmas, birthdays, every single holiday is an Easter basket, and we do that.
Yeah. Find what works with your kids and just embrace it. We so often are trying so hard to fit them into this world, and wouldn't it be a wonderful thing if it was the reverse and we could just change that? We live in such dark times right now, guys. I really mean this. It is so hard, and it can be overwhelming, and even just taking a minute and looking at the joys of your child versus always leading with the disability. I talked about this last week, how huge it is, because they're listening to everything, and even if they're not, if you don't think that they understand, trust me, they're feeling it. My son amazed me this last weekend with some more verbalization, which I haven't even had a chance to share with you, which we will later. But it floored me when he just spoke the words, and I was like, wow, something's clicking, and he's listening. He's always listening. Our kids will amaze us. You've said it already. They will surprise you. They will adjust. They are resilient. All of our kids, right?
Yes, they
no
are.
matter the ability, they're resilient, as is Allie, I'm sure. And so just please if you take anything this week and the end of this month, we're in June now and wrapping up June. I mentioned this on my show back in February when we talked about challenges for the new year and some of the things we need to let go of. If you can just flip that script a little bit, baby steps, and encourage your children and encourage them and expect a little bit more, because I think as autism moms especially and dads, it's tough for us because we're constantly hearing about what they can't do, and I think we get it in our brain. I know I have, that he can't. Well, guess what? He can. He's doing a lot. He's going to be a black belt soon at some point. So, so I just want to wrap it up with that. Is there anything else you want to leave with the listeners real quick before we head off to our last song? Anything else you want to mention? They can get in touch with you by looking Instagram. You're on Instagram,
on
Facebook,
Instagram,
and Being
and
Mark's Mom.
Facebook. I have an account called Being Mark's Mom.
Okay.
Both of these books, the memoir and the children's book, are on Amazon. I also have a website, www.sharytaylorgentry.com. You can order the books through there also, and that has a lot of blog entries that I've written and a little bit of background information. But I am always ready to learn and grow. And in this next phase, I love to meet new moms socially. I love to meet new moms to share ideas about autism. I love talking about the next step with how to let go gracefully, and how to deal with the messiness of your child not, quote, catching up. That's I'd like to say that to moms my age and moms of much younger kids. Don't give up hope.
Yes.
Life is messy. You're not overwhelmed. You're kicking ass.
Okay. All right, Shary. Thank you so much. Guys, you'll catch me later on YouTube, and please subscribe, like, and share this show. And we will see you next Tuesday.
You belong among the wildflowers. You belong in a boat out at sea. Sail away, kill you. You belong among the wildflowers. You belong in a boat out at sea. You belong with your love on your arm. You belong somewhere you feel free. Run away, go find a lover. Run away, let your heart be your guide. You deserve the deepest of cover.